Hey guys, and welcome to another video. I'm Data, and this time we have Arrow Season 1, Episode 21, The Undertaking. So, overall I thought this was a decent episode. Not the best, not the worst, but right in between, so it was pretty good. Still enjoyed it. Didn't keep me bored, but didn't keep me crazy entertained. But some parts I thought were really great, so we'll get to that. But before I get into this review, I just want to let you guys know that it does contain spoilers. So if you do not want to know what happened, go watch the episode and come back here. But anyway, let's get right into this review. So, right from the beginning, we see Oliver as Arrow. He breaks into a building and takes a laptop from an accountant. And he basically says, you know, give the money back. And he says, it's not me, I'm just the accountant. The real man is Mr. Bachman. So now we're basically seeing that Arrow's gonna go after this guy named Mr. Bachman. So we go back to Oliver, and he's downstairs in his little Arrow cave with Felicity, and Felicity basically says, you know, when are you gonna go apologize to John? And Oliver says, you know, I tried to stop him. I don't want him to go, but he made his choice. So we can see that Oliver is kind of fed up with him at this point, and he kind of needs a break from him. But I think in the end, he's still going to really need John. And I was sad to see John like get angry and just up and leave at the end of last episode. I mean, I really like him, and I really like the actor and his character just overall. So I really don't want to see him go. But after that, we find out, and we get brought back up the idea of, you know, where is Walter? And if you kind of forgot, because it's been so long since we actually seen him, Walter is Oliver's stepdad. Yeah, so where did he go? We actually find out that he's been gone for 6 months at this point in the show, so it's been 6 months since Malcolm Merlin actually kidnapped him. But it kind of gets brought up at this point, because honestly, I kind of forgot about him. Even though he did get kidnapped and he's a loose end, I really did forget about him. And this episode was like, oh yeah, I remember him. Is he dead or something? And we kind of find out what happens to him and what his future is in this episode. But before we get right into that, there's a nice little flashback. And this time, it's not a flashback of Oliver, it's focusing on Oliver's dad, Robert, and his mom. So this is a flashback that is not on the island where Oliver is, which is a change. And I do love the flashbacks, but this is a kind of a different recipe for that. And we actually don't see any flashbacks this episode with Oliver on the island, with Slade and everything. So yeah, we don't see any of that, which is kind of a disappointment because, well, I love those flashbacks. But anyway, this is before Walter and Oliver's moms were together, and they kind of talk together, and it's kind of awkward, like, okay, we're not together, and it was just kind of weird to see them not together. But anyway, Robert, which is Oliver's dad, is talking to Malcolm Merlin and some other people in their little business thing, and they're saying basically, you know, crime is spreading. This is Merlin talking. You know, crime is spreading. Everyone's lost and committed ourselves to the Glades. So again, the Glades is brought up, and we know the Glades has a lot to do with Merlin here now, and basically what he's trying to do, we don't know, but we actually find out in this episode. But anyway, so they're kind of upset, you know, we lost everything, we've committed everything in ourselves to the Glades. And basically he says the village must be destroyed to be rebuilt. So yeah, he wants to destroy the Glades, which we kind of find out, we had hints to, but we weren't 100% sure, but we know for 100% now that Malcolm Merlin wants to destroy the Glades. And basically, a lot of people bring up, well, if we just blow it up, I think people are going to start suspecting us. And he says, well, not if it's a natural disaster. So that's where the flashback ends, so we're kind of like, okay, what's going on here? And we find out, but we find out later, so push it back. Now Laurel tells Oliver that Tommy broke up with her, and of course, you know, those are just little gaps to fill the episode, but I gotta bring it up, you know, feel bad for Laurel. Felicity finds out one of Bachman's clients was paid $2 million to kidnap Walter, so now they have a lead to kind of find where Walter is, and they figure out what the guy's name is. It's Dominic Rolando, if I'm pronouncing it right, whatever. And, you know, Oliver saying, you know, he has his own private army, you know, we can't just break into his house and interrogate him. And Felicity basically says, you know, we need John. Go get John back. We need his help. And, again, Oliver's like, no, okay, he's done. Forget about him. And Felicity offers to go into one of his casinos that he has and kind of, try to get information from there off of one of his computers. But of course Oliver's against it, don't endanger yourself, don't do this. And Felicity says, well, the reason why I'm doing this right now was because of Walter in the beginning. He got me involved in this first. I want to try to save him. So Oliver kind of agrees, blindly, but whatever. Another flashback, and Robert, says, how can you think of doing this, Merlin? Like, we can't just blow it up. He says, it won't bring her back. And I'm like, okay, who's her? And it actually, Merlin actually talks about his wife, and his wife was actually killed in the Glades, was shot. He was working, and his wife continuously called his cell phone to ask for help because she's bleeding on the floor, dying. But Merlin didn't pick it up at all. He shut it off because he was working and was annoyed his wife was calling him. But she was actually calling because she was dying. And it recorded her voice, like saying, help me, Malcolm, help me. And he listened to it after the fact that he found out she died. And, he was saying, like, what's it like? What do you think it's like to listen to your wife die over and over again? So, that's a good point. So that's basically what his vendetta is against the Glades. But then Felicity goes to John's apartment. And she says, the truth is we need you back. Can you come back? And John says, when Oliver's ready to say that, the same thing that you just said, he knows where I live. You tell him to come here. So we can see there's some resentment from John. And I would be too, how can you trust this guy when he doesn't have your back? So I think he's really, iffy to come back. But, oh well. So, and then Tommy talks to Laurel, and he basically says, I think Oliver's still in love with you, and that's why I broke up with you. Again, little filler things, but I gotta bring it up. Then Felicity goes into the casino. She's all dressed up, nice and pretty, of course. And Oliver has an earpiece, and she's talking to him through the casino. Then we go to a little setback here, and Merlin and Oliver's mom meet, and they're talking. And Merlin basically says, it's nearly ready, and it's being shipped right now to Sterling City. And Oliver's mom basically says, oh, too bad Robert isn't here to celebrate it with us. And he says, sorry, I had to take him from you. So it looks like, well, Merlin actually set this whole thing up to sink the Queen's Gambit, which would led to Oliver being stranded on the island. It was really Merlin, which we basically think, well, we thought it was Oliver's mom because she had it, in storage, the yacht, so that was kind of weird. But we go to a flashback right now, and Robert tells Oliver's mom he wants that Merlin wants to destroy the Glades and kill everyone. And he basically says, I'm not the man you think I am, because obviously Oliver's mom says, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. And he actually says that he killed someone over the Glades. So he, he's trying to right his wrong now, kind of make everything right, but he doesn't think that the right thing to do is, blow up the Glades, so he doesn't want to do that. And basically Oliver's mom says to him, preventing this horror, which, with the Glades and everything, will undo your wrong. So, yeah, I guess you could say that, but I think Robert's really torn at this point, what should I do? Should I listen to my wife or Malcolm Merlin? I don't know. Then we go back to the present, and Felicity's in the casino, and she gets pulled aside by some guards, and they bring her into the back room and says, and then the manager guy there says, you're a card counter, aren't you? And he takes all the money and everything and says, get out of here. And he's like, wait, let me see in your ear. And there's an earpiece. And he said, well, I knew you'd have a partner because card counters usually do. And all of a sudden, Oliver, as Arrow, just breaks in. He stormed everyone. And Felicity just quick grabs something out of the computer. So she actually has some information now that she came here for. But the fight scene with Arrow and the guards in the casino was really cool because there was bullets flying everywhere, and they were hitting the poker chips. So the poker chips are going flying, tables being overturned. I thought it looked really awesome. And again, I love the fight scenes in this show. I said it 1,000 times, but I really love it. And there was, in particular, there was one fight scene later on that I thought was amazing. Probably the best fight scene so far in the show. But we'll get to that when it gets in. But anyway, Walter, of course, they're trying to find him, but Oliver basically goes up to this guy, the casino guy, and he pins him up against the wall and says, where's Walter? And he's saying, and the casino guy says, he's below ground, he's dead. And Oliver's like, no, you're lying. But he's saying, no, I delivered him, and they killed him. I heard the gunshot. So at this point, Oliver's convinced that Walter is dead, and he goes back home, as Oliver, not as Arrow, and he tells his mom and Thea that, he got the news from one of John's military friends that they found Walter dead. So, of course, Thea's crying, blah, 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 and both my dads are dead. Oliver's mom is all upset, and she storms out saying, no, this can't be right. And, wow, that's not a little suspicious. Because why would you say that? It's like you know that he's alive, which she does, but, like, you want to keep the secret from Oliver and Thea. Why would you just say that out loud? I don't know. But after that, we go to another flashback, and it's Robert talking to, one of the other people, not Malcolm, it's someone else that was in their little group, and he's saying, this isn't the answer. And he brings up that, well, Malcolm already owns 1/3 of the Glades, but if we buy up the rest, he can't do anything because he won't own it. So that's kind of what their plan is. And we actually see Oliver and Laurel before the Queen's Gambit, and they're talking about buying a place so they can stay as like a couple. And it was weird to see Oliver and Laurel before the Queen's Gambit incident, because they acted a lot differently, and even the actor that plays Oliver, like, they made him look a lot, like, way different, like longer hair and everything. I thought it was really good acting, honestly, even though it wasn't like a fight scene or anything. I thought it was great acting. Then after that, we go back to the present. And Oliver's mom goes to Malcolm and says, you lied to me, Walter's dead. And Malcolm basically says, Merlin basically says, no, I kept my word. And he calls someone and says, put Walter on the phone. On the camera. So then there's a camera, and it's showing Walter alive. So, okay, Walter isn't dead, so who's lying here? And it's actually not Merlin, because Walter is actually still alive. And all the while Oliver's mom's talking to Merlin, there's an arrow recording the whole situation on the side of Merlin's building. So at this point, Oliver knows, wait a second, my mom's been lying this whole time, and Merlin is like the head of this whole thing. So he finds out a lot of stuff about there. Then Felicity looks up Walter Merlin's phone records to find out when he called the person that was holding Walter, and they find the place where Walter's being held. And it was really cool what Oliver did to get to this little place, because it was kind of isolated by itself. He like parasails like onto the building's roof, like like the parachute things. It was really cool. I don't know why. It was just really different. I haven't seen something like that before in a TV show, so it was really cool to kind of change it up and see that. And he goes in, and of course he starts fighting people. And this is where the fight scene was crazy. He's in this little long hallway, and he's fighting people, but people just keep on coming. At least 20 people came onto him, like one by one, and it's just a continuous fight scene for like 3 minutes. It was great. I mean, the fighting was amazing. I really liked it. It was movie quality fighting, I have to say. Like, it was just awesome. I was awestruck after that little clip right there, because I just thought it was crazy. And then Oliver goes to the room where actually Walter's being held. He breaks in, and he puts on his voice changer, obviously, because he doesn't want Walter to know that Arrow is Oliver. And he says, we actually see Walter, and he actually has a beard, so we can say, oh yeah, he's been there for a while. And he says, you're going home, come back to me in Sterling City. And then we see Walter back in Sterling City in a hospital, and Thea and his mom and go visit him and like say, oh yeah, you're alive. Now we go to the last flashback of the episode, and Robert is about to leave for China on the Queen's Gambit, and Oliver comes and says, can I get a ride too? So it was weird to see like the final moments of them actually being, of Robert being alive. So it's kind of cool to see that, to see some backstory on it. It was, I really like that. But I do prefer Oliver when he was on the island with Slade, just because it's so much more interesting and exciting, but still cool flashbacks that revealed a lot about the past. Then we go to the present, and Merlin is talking, and he's saying the bomb's in place, and a storm is coming overhead, so now would be the right time to use it. Whatever it is, it's some kind of bomb or something that makes it look like a natural disaster, and they want to wipe out the Glades. But they didn't actually perform the act in this episode. Probably next episode, or the episode after that, we'll see them actually using this thing, or maybe Oliver will stop it. I don't know. Then Oliver and Laurel kind of have a little moment, and Laurel says, why don't you go talk to Tommy, because he thinks that we're still in love, and that's why he broke up with me. And Oliver says, you know, I can't tell him that because it's not true. I'm still in love with you. So, oh yeah, mushy gushy, blah blah blah. Filler for the episode, but you know, still nice to have that, to see another dynamic of Oliver and his character. So I'm not going to complain that much about it. Still good TV, in my opinion. Then Oliver goes to John's apartment and he basically confronts him and says, you know, you were right about my mother. She is actually planning something, and Merlin's planning something huge, and I don't know what it is, but I know I'm going to need your help. And that's where the episode ends. So obviously John's back, so he's only gone for an episode. I can't complain about that. If he's going to be gone for an episode, fine. But overall, I thought this episode was pretty good. You know, it did keep me interested the whole time, so I would say that's a success. You know, I didn't fall asleep in the middle of it. But yeah, the fight scenes in it, great. Story, great. We learned a lot of backstory about Oliver and everything, and Robert especially. So overall, I thought it was a really great episode. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And for now, I gotta say goodbye. But don't worry, more content to come. So I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.